distinguished members, industry, academia, ladies and gentlemen from the press, it is indeed a matter of privilege and honor for me to be standing here today to our national government. The Honorable Raksha Mantri, in his words, encapsulated this paradigm shift, and I quote, "We were once known as a landlocked country with seashores, but now we have a different working environment where the challenges are far more complex than what is being offered on land or in the air. And therefore, my request are engines for growth." They're interesting that 70% of the world's surface is oceans. While the geographies might differ, at the heart of the construct lies India, uniquely positioned by both geography and destiny. In the 21st century, as a successor to the narrower Asia-Pacific narrative which was existing, which excluded the Indian Ocean significance, our central location and robust maritime geography place it in a position of both opportunity and responsibility. To fully grasp the significance of the current security landscape, and that is my whole aim of this talk today, is to try and explain to you what is it that the Navy does, why do we do it, where do we do it, and how do we do it, so that you get a flavor and an understanding of what exactly is it that we require and that you gentlemen and ladies would need to produce. Now, what essentially defines the Navy's roles? Our deployments refer to the deliberate strategic deployments that go beyond routine patrols or coastal security deployments. Key components of these forays include the presence cum surveillance missions in critical maritime theaters, joint exercises with regional and extra-regional navies, port calls and naval diplomacy, humanitarian assistance and disaster relief missions, and surveillance patrols for maritime domain awareness. Collectively, they safeguard the sea lines of communications, deter adversaries, shape the regional norms, and project India as a preferred security partner. Of historical relevance, this year, 2025, marks the 1,000 years of Rajendra Chola's first overseas naval deployment, which extended our influence deep into Southeast Asia. This legacy has only grown over the years. In fact, as we speak, a unit of the Eastern Fleet, of the Eastern Naval Command, is actually on its way back all the way from Fiji in the Pacific, at Papua New Guinea, calling into Australia and making her way back after having carried out a series of multilateral and bilateral exercises. And that is the reach of the Eastern Naval Command, of which I'm very proud of being a part. I wonder why I'm being reminded of the Cautillian principle, which says that every neighboring state is an enemy, but the enemy's enemy is a friend. It's interesting because in a world of shifting alliances, and the speakers alluded to that, and contested waters, collaborative in safeguarding interests. Coming to the what, having been said, why? Understanding the strategic drivers behind our deployments and what we do. This transition from the Asia-Pacific to the Indo-Pacific has brought us from the periphery to the center of global geopolitics. This region, the Indo-Pacific, is where 60% of the global GDP is generated. 50% of the global trade transits through the critical choke points. And strategic powers like the US, China, Japan, and Australia shape the regional security architecture. This is also the same region where the US vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific contrasts sharply with China's assertive maritime strategy, and the happenings in the South China Sea are fairly well known to this audience. While our neighbors' assertive posture and naval expansion remains the most pressing strategic concern, underscored by its militarization and gray zone tactics and the growing footprint, we are also facing a wider spectrum of both traditional and non-traditional threats, which is again where technology and AI have a very huge role to play. The Strait of Hormuz on our west handles roughly 20% of the global petroleum shipments, making it one of the world's most critical choke points. Iran's periodic confrontations with the Western Navy, especially in light of the tensions with Israel and the American forces, have increased instability in the region, with the potential to threaten global energy security and disrupt our crude import routes. Piracy, especially around the Horn of Africa and the Gulf of Guinea, has seen a resurgence even as the Somali piracy has temporarily declined. Incidents of maritime terrorism, narco-trafficking, imported and unregulated fishing, particularly by distant water fishing fleets, pose constant challenges to maritime governance, especially for nations with vast exclusive economic zones like us. Climate change and maritime security only add to these challenges. And this is not talking about the ongoing conflict between Russia, Ukraine, and the tariff war that has been imposed upon us by the West, and how we are coping and trying to deal with it. Having established the why, the whither, or the key geographies that shape the trajectory of our naval forays is in our immediate and extended maritime neighborhood. We are projecting presence in the emerging frontiers. The Malacca Strait, where nearly 40% of the global trade and 80% of China's oil imports pass, is one of the most critical choke points, and that is where our ships are regularly being deployed. We also hold very active multilateral and bilateral exercises with countries like Malabar with the Americans, Japanese, and the Australians, GEMEX with the Japanese, AUSINDEX with the Australians, and RIMPAC, which is one of the largest naval exercises in the world, where I personally have been very fortunate to have taken my ship 6 years back and emerged victorious in that very, very prestigious exercise. We started engagements with Vietnam and the Philippines. We have port calls, capacity building initiatives, reinforcing our commitment to a rules-based maritime order. We also are engaged in countries like Djibouti, where the BRI initiative is trying to cut into our sphere of influence. We are carrying out joint EEZ surveillance and HR drills with Kenya, Tanzania, Mozambique, and Madagascar, and trying to build deeper ties with the UAE and Iran, both key logistical hubs in the Western Indian Ocean. Mr. Sajid, I think, spoke about the 4 A's. I will go to the 3 D's. The 3D approach that the Indian Navy has as to how do we develop a robust and evolving framework, where I need your assistance to come up with solutions that help us empower this, are deter, deploy, and develop. Deter is credible deterrence, which begins with persistence posture. Our mission-based deployments, as I speak, 4 of my own ships are right now deployed in various parts of the Indian Ocean region, carrying out deterrence patrols. We have over 1,000 MBD patrols annually covering choke points in the high traffic zones. We carry out regularly big exercises like the Tropics, which is a theater level, operational level exercise, where the entire Indian Navy and Coast Guard assets join in together to carry out a real-time war game scenario. Multi-domain warfare capabilities, in addition to unmanned systems, which includes underwater drones, autonomous surveillance platforms, and the ISR assets, are regularly being exercised. And this is one niche area where the industry has a very big role in trying to offer us solutions. The second pillar is deploy. Deployment is not just about deterrence, it's also about delivering security where it is needed the most. It is said that a navy that does not deploy is a navy that does not deter. The India's sea lines of communications underpin our 3.7 trillion economy. Operational deployments ensure the uninterrupted flow of commerce and energy. In fact, just as a matter of interest, our ships have escorted more than 324 merchant ships over the past 6 months, and a cargo valuing over 5.3 billion, and rescuing more than 400 personnel from strife-off areas in our neighborhood. The third pillar, develop, is perhaps the most strategic of all, and that is about shaping the maritime environment through cooperation, capacity building, and sustained engagement. Initiatives like the Indian Ocean ship Sagar, which has brought together 9 countries who are sailing as part of a crew of an Indian ship, is one such initiative. Our diplomacy is well known amongst our government and amongst the services. We have conducted over 50 port visits in the past 18 months, all the way from Suva to Seychelles, Jakarta to Jeddah, reinforcing our maritime partnerships across Indo-Pacific. We also, as Adit had brought out, in the City of Destiny, are extremely proud that this is the home port for one of the largest exercises in this part of the world, and that is called Milan. And in February 26, Visakhapatnam will be the host of the International Fleet Review, where the Honorable President would be the chief guest, and she will review the might of the Indian Navy. We will have the Milan, where we are expecting more than 75 countries and their navies to participate. And we will have the IONS, which is the Indian Ocean Naval Symposium Conclave of Chiefs, happening concurrently here in this beautiful city of Visakhapatnam, wherein again the members of industry and the startups and the MSMEs would have a great opportunity to interact with the most powerful navies of the world and try and showcase what we bring to the table. From the Bay of Bengal to the icy reaches of the Arctic and Antarctica, the Indian Navy today reflects our emergence as a maritime power with global responsibility. As we look towards India at 2047, our goal is clear: to ensure that the oceans remain secure, open, and inclusive for India and the world. The Navy stands combat-ready, credible, cohesive, and future-ready across surface, subsurface, air, cyber domains. With purpose, professionalism, and presence, we remain committed to protecting our national interests anytime, anywhere, anyhow. With that, I would like to end my talk, and I wish this very important Mahotsav and this very august gathering of intelligentsia, academia, and the industry the very best of luck in the coming 3 days, where you discuss and come up with innovative solutions that work the best for us. Thank you so much.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.